Our Blades fan Liam Eric says, when you announce the king, you better acknowledge your mistake. Welcome back to another 20 minutes of Sheffield United chat. I'm Mark, I'm neutral. We've got Shax Connor and Dan with us to review what's been a crazy weekend for Sheffield United. Being battered at Ipswich to now finally being able to say Adios, Ruben Selles. We're also talking about Ben Godfrey and the transfer window, giving it a final grade. Thank you very much for your company. If you're a Sheffield United fan and you're delighted to see the back of Ruben Selles, give us a quick like down below. We're going to get into the discussion, of course, welcoming, by the time this goes out, Chris Wilder may already be back through the door. If it's not him, who else would we want? So thank you very much for your company. Right, Connor, Dan, Shax, you must have gone to bed on Friday night thinking, well, it's only a matter of time, Connor, now that he's gone. Should it have happened before the international break, though?
I were hoping so, to be honest. I thought perfect time. He clearly didn't have a clue from start, and you just think perfect time to get rid of him. Whoever he wants to bring in, got 2 weeks to get with lads, get him how they playing how they want in. And that's what we could have had Wilder in 2 weeks already. We could have gone to Ipswich, and even if we got a point, just to stop that losing mentality. So honestly, I'm happy with whoever we bring in. It's looking like Wilder with all reports, and I said before in videos previously, I'd again him a lifetime contract. He should have never have gone. Many fans, even fans outside of United, have all said they don't know why he went in first place. So it's a logical thing to do to bring him back, really, isn't it?
Dan, is it the maddest sacking ever of for what's happened to where you were? I can't think of a time in football where a club has gone from up here to there with such a crazy managerial decision.
I think it is, yeah. I think it obviously comes down to wrong advice as well. Bad advisors from a group of guys who have come in to run a football club who are pretty clueless to the sport, to put it politely, to the game. They needed good advice, and they clearly didn't get that. But then, they want to go down their own route, and that's fine. You have to accept that as a fan, as a club. But the choice they made were bizarre. I think there were more hope from the fans than anybody really. If anybody really thought he'd do well, it's crazy, because I think it was just more hope. You could clearly see from the outset that the three of them, him and his two staff, were out of their depth, and it's sad really, because it looked so good in pre-season, and all of a sudden it's just gone from where it has. But it's mad, because you're bringing back a manager who 87, 90 days ago was in charge, and you just come off back of losing at Wembley, and all of a sudden these players are not performing. They have to take some responsibility. But to answer your question, crazy, especially to go back as well, especially if they're going to go back, which it looks like they are. It's crazy, but just leave it. He's the one who's going to get you out of the league or get you points, and he knows the club inside out. I just find it crazy, but fair play to COH Sports. They've held their hands up, said we've made a mistake, and looks like they're going to reappoint him.
Shax, does there need to be a bigger statement made about, almost like a public apology to Chris Wilder, that we've massively got this wrong?
I don't know about a public apology. I mean, we don't know what his target were last season. If his target were to get promoted, then he failed, didn't he? So it's harsh. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not harsh, but I'm not sure if we were in top two when they took over. I'm pretty sure that we were. So if his target were to get promoted, then he failed, didn't he? He failed on biggest stage of them all, cruelly. I might add, but if that's the remit that they give him, promotion, and he didn't achieve it, then he can't really have any arguments for being sacked in my eyes. But to go back to him and give him another crack, I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's fair. I think I had no problem with him getting rid of him, because, like I said, if the target were promotion, he didn't achieve that, did he? We were poor in April, May time. We did well in playoffs, but we had a spell where I think we only won 4 out of 10, if I'm right, or something along them lines. It weren't brilliant, so I do see why they got rid of him. But then to appoint Selles, who's just I don't even know what he is, like a Spanish PE teacher or whatever he is, then that's the part that I found.
Lifeguard.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
the part that I found crazy. I didn't necessarily find sacking Wilder crazy. His points total were brilliant, but the football were dire. I'm not gonna start saying it were brilliant when it weren't, because there were so many times last season where I was just like, this is boring. But the other side of the coin, we've had a go with Selles, and that's equally as horrific. But with our results, that's shocking, and you don't get points. So yeah, they're good. It looks like they're going back to Wilder, and then we'll just have to see what happens from there.
Yeah. Connor, just contextualise that Ipswich result. I mean, I've seen so many fans and radio phone-ins I've heard saying words to this effect here, that the Ipswich performance, especially the second half, was the worst Sheffield United side or worst Sheffield United performance that people have ever seen in their entire life. It was effing embarrassing. Thinking back to obviously the Premier League era, and when you were battered every week with Newcastle and Arsenal, was that Friday night last second half up there with one of the worst you've seen?
I mean, we were bad, don't get me wrong, they were not good about performance, but I'd probably say I've seen worse. I mean, we were in League One for 6 years, and there were times when we were getting 4-foot past us by bloody Gillingham and teams like that, you know what I mean? And I suppose in Premier League, it's worse in Premier League for the simple fact you're in Premier League. You've got world watching you, there's millions watching you, so you're just getting humiliated, and every football fan on planet knows what's happening. It's slightly less worse in Championship, because as much as it's still a big league, you don't get that spotlight as what you do in Premier League. But I wouldn't say, I'd probably say I've seen us play probably a lot worse in worse divisions.
Then to both of you, Shax and Dan, I mean, Chris Wilder may have been announced already and be through the door and getting ready to prepare for Charlton by the time this video goes out. But if in some sort of crazy world that doesn't happen, are there any other names which you've been hearing that you'd be happy with?
I've said publicly I would have liked Danny Rowe. I know it's controversial. I know some people might not like it, but his remit when he got Wednesday job were exactly the same as the remit that Wilder's going to be getting now, which is get you from bottom of the league as far up as you can get it. And I think had they spent money when they couldn't spend money in January, I think they'd have been in playoffs, which is I think where he would take us now. But I mean, is he any better than Wilder? No, he's not got a CV that's better than Wilder, but I'm talking about moving forward rather than moving back and going down the same route. But if it weren't to be Wilder, then I would go with Rowe. That'd be my choice. Or Carrick, but I'd lean more towards Rowe.
Yeah, I've seen a few people mention Carrick. Danny's a bit more progressive than Wilder. What's your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, I think I said it in a previous podcast we did last season. When you asked if Chris Wilder weren't manager, would we want? And I said Carrick then, and I think Carrick would have been my choice. A young manager driving you forward, knows the game. The problem you have with Selles is when he's trying to encourage players to come, he's got Southampton, he's got Hull, he's got Reading to go to. We've got nobody else. That's what didn't sit right with me. He's not got a big field to go and looking for these players. And whereas you people like your Carricks, your Wilders, obviously, your Danny Rose, he's got loads of people he can lean on, they can turn to, they can get played. I don't know, but yeah, Carrick would have been mine. But I'm with Shax as well on the Danny Rose. I think he did a decent job with Wednesday last year to say that he didn't have much to spend, and they got in a relatively decent position for the squad they had. And I think with money, it'd have pushed them towards the playoffs. I do believe that.
Stay tuned, because at the end we're going to be asking these guys whether they'll put club before country, or would they prefer to see England win a World Cup over any kind of winning side getting to the top of the league and getting promotion. It's harsh, this next topic, Connor, because none of the players pulled up any trees on against Ipswich, but there's one in particular that social media and particularly United fans went crazy about. Ben Godfrey, I think I said a couple of weeks ago that his best days were behind him, and he's not been a good defender since he left at Everton shirt. But and says Ben Godfrey's the worst footballer of all time. Ben Godfrey's the biggest fraud I've seen on the pitch. He dropped an absolute stinker. Where do you sit on what you've seen so far from him?
I think it's too difficult at the minute to judge, especially the newer players, because I mean we've seen him under Ruben Selles, who clearly don't know how to coach. So then it's a matter of, you can judge him now early doors, and don't get me wrong, he was shocking against Ipswich. There were one of goals when he just looked like he just getting up halfway and just thought I'll let him score. But again, he's playing him right back. He might be able to play right back, but his main position is centre back. You want to get the best out of someone, you play him in their preferred position. And that's one of the problems that we did in the market. We didn't get another right back to compete with Sarike, so we just gone and got Godfrey, and just because that were clearly one of the players that they went with. I get he's versatile, which it does help, but I think bringing someone in like Wilder, I think 5 or 10 games under Wilder, if he is the man that comes in, I'd like to judge him then and see how he performs. I think under a proper manager, especially at this level, I think he can perform and put in some good performances. And it's not really a massive problem for me, because if he's doing poorly, the amount of centre backs we've got now, we can easily drop him, take the heat off him, let him build his confidence, sort of thing. So I think people are blowing it out of proportion a bit, especially judging him a bit this early on, 5 games in. I'd like to give him another 5 or 10 games, then I'll judge him.
I mean, one thing, one thing the Blade faithful won't stand for, Dan, is lack of effort. And like Dan kind of says, there was a goal where he seemed to just give up on trying to chase him down. They won't stand for that much longer, will they, if that continues?
No, they won't. But I don't just think it were him. I think it's been a lot of games this season where the players have, and I'm not particularly bothered on the response I get, because I do believe it. I think the players have given up. The players have thrown in the towel. There's sometimes, I'm even going to go as far as to say that on Friday and other games, some things were deliberate, which I think can't really play in here, which I think is pretty poor from professionals who performed last year at a great standard for us. They're not bothered. They're not bothered. Crosses into the box. They're barely lifting the leg to stop a cross. To block a cross, they're barely lifting the leg to put a ball into the box. Shots are coming. I'm just gonna powder puff it towards keeper. It's not. Listen, I tell them all that it's been done deliberate. A lot of stuff's been done deliberate, and they've all done it to get him out. And unfortunately, that's the industry that they're in. But under Chris Wilder, if you don't want to play for his club, he's going to walk in there. He's going to demand it. This is my club, my dressing room. If you don't want to play, get gone. And they know what to expect, some of them players. And I just think, if you don't try, at least when you were talking about the Premier League, when we were getting battered in the Premier League, I think at times there were effort. We were just not good enough. But on Friday night, it was just disgraceful. Some of the stuff going off, and they weren't just Godfrey. People want to pick on Godfrey, but they don't want to pick on other players. Like a young lad who's been given your armband, another one that didn't want to try, didn't want to put himself about. It's unacceptable, and under that should be a given at any level for any manager. But under Chris Wilder, if you don't do that, you're pretty much gone. That's it. Especially like I say, what he brings, what he wants for his teams and for his club. Efforts are given in it, so we'll see what happens.
Right. Cheers for that. Shax, is everything okay with Cooper, by the way, as well? Some people were saying he's off.
He's won it like I was gonna say then Godfrey. You can say he were bad and he were bad, but I'm not. He might, let's just say, got a 2 out of 10, but just equally as a problem. There's loads and loads of players 3 out of 10s at best. I mean, you know my thoughts on how anybody can watch him and think he brings anything to the table other than just falling over. He's running at a kid overnight, rolls it straight to their defender. He had a shot. Ball boy could have controlled it and picked it up and get it in back. It was that pathetic. He can't run alongside anybody without ending up on floor. I thought Burrows, pathetic. Can't defend. That diving box, what he did when that kid just brushed his arm and he chucked himself on floor. I'm not down for that. That's pathetic. That's embarrassing. Cooper, I mean, last season, he was my player at season. This season, getting megs like that were just embarrassing. There were another couple where he's indecisive, his distribution's not there. I mean, There's a few of McGuinness. I thought there were a couple of headers what come towards McGuinness, and I don't know if he's like partially blind or whatever, but he's missing headers by like 4 or 5 yards. I don't know how you can misjudge an header that far. He were another one. I thought he were poor. I thought Peck just been mentioned. I thought Peck were poor. I give Peck a bit of a pass in that he's still a young kid. He's not a fully developed player, but they just you can't pin that on Godfrey. Yeah, he were poor, but there were far too many of them that were just going through motions. They're on a pitch kicking a ball about, but like Dan said, they don't care. They're not interested. They're just there, roll ball around for 90 minutes, go and clap flags, and then get you sent off. And then Selles has been sacked, and then now again, like Dan said, you're not going to get away with that with Wilder. I guarantee that. That's one thing you will not get away with, and that's going through motions like a few of them were against Ipswich.
Right. It should all turn around then against Charlton Athletic this weekend. Join us next week when, of course, we review that. Transfer window is now closed, so our last discussions on it, promise, is for us to give us a grading on it, please, Connor, if that's okay. 10 being it couldn't have gone any better, to 1 being it was a shambles. Where do you sit on the summer activity at your club?
Probably a 7.5, I think.
Come on, I'm giving you 10 numbers and you can't.
All right,
no,
we'll go with a 7 then.
Thank you. Right,
yeah, I'll go with a 7. Obviously,
all
I feel just the main thing for me is the right back spot. I feel like if we got a proper right back in to compete with Sarika, it'd have made the defence so much better. Obviously, we yet to judge all the players, but I feel like that's just the one thing that stands out for me.
Okay, Shucks.
I'd go 4. I'd go with 4 because I think that the defence, the centre back situation, I think we sorted that. I don't think we sorted right back. I think Sarika's injury prone, young, and just not ready to be playing 46 games. So I don't think we signed the right back. I think we lost Vinny Souza in CDM position. I don't think we replaced him. We've signed Summit's a miss there. He's not playing for whatever. And then Matos, he looked all right the night, but I would have liked a better CDM. If you're losing somebody as good as Souza, you've got to get a good replacement in. And then strikers and wingers. I think we've signed Danny Ings. I mean, Friday night injured already, or flu or whatever it is. He's had 2 games to be available. He's only been available for 1, so he's running at 50% straight away. Right wing, we've signed on Benny. He couldn't play the night, but left wing, I don't think Barry's answer on left. He's either got to put Eamon there, or I think we could have done with one more winger that could play either side for me. So I'd go with a 4, possibly a 5 if you're being picky, but certainly not a 7 or an 8 for me. No way.
Right, we've got a 7 and a 4. Dan?
Yeah, I'll probably go 5, 6 because I think the early parts of the window they wanted to go down the European overseas route. That never really materialised, barring a couple of players. All of a sudden, the signing stopped, and then something happened where they went and signed a few players. Just all a little bit mismatched, but like the lads have said there, no right backs come in. We haven't really brought in another forward. Danny Ings has, like Shaq said, injured or ill, whatever he was. We haven't addressed that. Left wing, we haven't addressed that either. But we've brought 362 centre backs in. So I don't really know. Other than that, I think it's been pretty poor. If we'd have not brought the 4 players on deadline, they'd like to have have been quite worried. But again, I think Chong, Matos are going to be decent signings long term. Hopefully, we'll get the best out of Benny as well under Chris. If it is Chris that's coming in, and I do think he'll get the best out of them. But the big one, like Shaq said, was not replacing Vinny Souza, and Samir was obviously brought in for that. But like Shaq also said, something's not right in that area either.
Well, thank you very much. Do you agree with them? Let us know in the comments. Quite a mixed picture there. Finally, this week then, with the international breakers, always conjures up this question, so we're here again, and we're simply asking the following question. It's the end of the season. You can either have Sheffield United being promoted back to the Premier League, or 1 month later, over in America, you can watch England lift the World Cup, which one would it be? You can only have one. Shax, what would it be? Club or country this time round?
I'd always say club. However, I don't want. I don't know. I'd say club every time, but knowing what I know now, that if you go to Premier League, it's not for us. It's not all that. So I think if with that question, what you just asked there, I'd say I'd like to see England win World Cup next year. However, normally I would pick club over country every time, but that's not a prize, is it? Winning Premier League. I think I'd rather United win FA Cup than England win World Cup. We'll say it that way.
Okay, Connor.
Yeah, I'd like to see England win World Cup. Obviously, I've seen United promoted to Premier League 3 times, and like Shaq says, it's not all that once you actually get there. So just for the fact we've only won the World Cup once, I'd love to see us do that.
Okay. Full house, Dan?
Club for me. I'm not here doing an England podcast. I'm here doing a Sheffield United one. For me, it's bread and butter. I'm not really bothered. If England win World Cup, great. I'll celebrate like everybody else, but not bothered. Don't go to games as much. I'll watch it on TV if it's on. Honestly, genuinely not that bothered. Always been club for me. So that's me. Sorry to spoil it, lads, but that's just me.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments which way you would go. Sheffield United promoted or England winning the World Cup. Right. Well, I'm going to press the reset on this podcast next week. We're going to be bright, breezy. We're going to beat Charlton. We'll have 3 points on the board, and we'll be back happy singing Blades. It's going to happen.
I hope so.
Yeah, right. Enjoy the Charlton game. Give Nathan Jones some stick, of course, as well. Not one of my favourite people. We'll see you 7 days' time, hopefully, celebrating the return of the King. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in 7.